Hey everyone, ELD here, and Mind's Desire is a new toy for Legacy, finally unbanned. I wasn't really calling for this, but I absolutely love it. I think it's how the list should be managed. I think you take a look, see cards that potentially could come off, and go ahead and see what happens. Worst case scenario, they can always ban it again. And this card is obviously powerful enough to see play in Vintage, as is a one of. But the real spice is when Mind's Desire flips other copies of Mind's Desire, which led to it being restricted in Vintage and banned in Legacy in the first place. So I mean, I was there 20 years ago. I don't know if this was ever actually legal. Someone let me know in the comments if you have more accurate recollection, but as I recall it, it was about a 2-week lead time from the announcement to them kicking into effect. And I played in a vintage event during that period. It was the final go around for Gush as a 4 of. And in that event, because it was unsanctioned, they did not allow Mind's Desire to be played. It was technically a proxy event. So if they didn't make that announcement, you would have been able to proxy 4 copies of Mind's Desire. I don't even remember if the card was widely available yet, if Scourge had even dropped. But this is like 20 years ago. Bottom line is, we don't have any real data about what it looks like to play 4 copies of this card in a deck. There's all sorts of different ways that you could build it. And first off, Mind's Desire is going to go really well with blue in Vintage. You had Black Lotus to help for those 2 blue pips. But in Legacy, High Tide's the first thing that jumps out. Now, that's not really super busted. I mean, High Tide's going to need to get 2, 3, 4 islands into play in order to actually make use of the untap effects as it's currently built with things like Candelabra or Time Spiral. So that's probably fair. I don't think that's going to be a problem. I couldn't imagine them needing to re-ban this card just off of a deck like High Tide, as it's reasonably fair. I mean, you're playing like turn 3, turn 4 combo in a format where you can actually just win on the first turn with backup. I don't know how you're going to complain about that, so that seems totally fine for me. Another way that you could possibly see this is in the sideboards of Burning Wish combo decks. You know, when you're flooded out and you don't quite have enough Storm to make a lethal empty and the Goblin tokens aren't going to be good enough. Right now, a lot of the time they're grabbing like a Galvanic Relay and passing the turn, which is not super exciting. Mind's Desire keeps your storm count going and possibly just wins the game. So we'll see if it earns a slot in the sideboards. Of course, it could also be a 4 of in a deck to do, like we said, flipping Mind's Desire into other Mind's Desires, which is super exciting, but you know, that's not going to play well with Ad Nauseam. You don't want to have a bunch of 6-drops in your deck with Ad Naus. You're just going to not get the value that you need. Decks right now running Ad Nauseam are so low to the ground that they can actually fire it off from sometimes lower life totals and still get there. So we'll see what actually is better. But overall, I love this inclusion in Legacy. We'll see what happens as people start brewing. And I want to see more of this. I'd love to see Mana Drain unbanned as well. You let me know what your next pick is, and I can't wait to see this at the table.